Cool. So I think we can get started. Just want to say, hey everybody, welcome to this event. It's called Keep Moving, Where Do We Go From Here? We are so excited to hear from you today and also for you to hear from us. This is part of an event taking place for iwill Week, where we'll be pulling together for youth social action. I'm Gracie Chick and I will be your host for today's event. I'm from the southeast of England. I've been involved in iwill Week since 2021. During this event, feel free to use the chat to share your thoughts, your questions, whatever you want to say, but please make sure your microphone is muted unless you're speaking, and if you want to turn your camera on, please feel free to do that as well. You can follow us and tag us on whatever social media platforms you use. We're using the hashtag iwillweek 2022, and we are iwill_movement on Instagram, Twitter and YouTube, and the iwill movement on Facebook, and all our information is on our website, which is www.iwill.org.uk. Cool. So joining me and helping me explore today's themes are our speakers, iwill ambassadors Claire, Jonas, Lella, Uzi and Taegan. So excited to hear from all of them. So for the first part of this event, you're going to hear a series of short talks from these iwill ambassadors from various years, including some of them who have just joined us this year, which is really, really exciting. And they're going to be telling their own stories, what being part of iwill means to them. And then we're all going to be talking about our visions for the future of the movement as well. And then we'll open up for a brief discussion where you can share your reflections as well. So we're really excited to hear those. But whilst you just wait for a few more people to join, I'd really like you all to write in the chat answering a question for me. And that question is, how do you define humanity? I think what we're all hoping to bring to this conversation today is a more human perspective to the movement. And I'd just like to kick this off by asking, like, what does humanity mean to you? And then over the next hour or so of this event, we can kind of keep those answers in mind and see how they evolve and what we can learn from each other. So yeah, I'll give you a minute or so to do that. And then I will hand over to Claire, who's going to go first and share her thoughts with us. So yeah, feel free to pop those in the chat. And it can be, honestly, whatever you want. It can be just like a word, a sentence, a whole paragraph if you really want. Totally up to you. And for people who've literally just joined us, welcome. We're really looking forward to hearing from you. So Claire's saying connection. And I would actually 100% agree with that. It's really close to my definition of humanity as well. And I'm going to be sharing some of my thoughts in my little bit of this event on that later as well. But yeah, definitely agree with that. Uzi says common purpose. Also, yeah, 100%. That's a really good one. I think it's just about things that bring us together at the end of the day, isn't it? Molly's saying, missed the question. Okay, so I'm just basically asking people, what is your definition of humanity? And we'll do that for another minute or so, and then yeah, we'll move into the first part of this event. Oh, love. I like that. I don't know if you're saying you love the question or if your answer is love. But either way, I completely agree. Interconnectedness, the ability to learn and work with others, all of these brilliant, and I think hopefully this is a conversation we can continue. So I'm going to hand over to Claire now. She's going to share her thoughts, and yeah, Claire, over to you.
Hi everyone, my name is Claire. I have been an iwill ambassador since 2019. I'm based in Manchester, and goodness, I've definitely been on a lot of photos and social tiles this week and even before then. When we think about why we're here today, why we're in this session and keeping the momentum of this movement, it really takes me back to why I started getting involved in social action. Gracie, first of all, you are a mastermind with words. I love listening to you talk. But I remember you saying in one of your blogs that for so many of us, this work isn't a choice. Like, we have to take upon this mantle. And I would definitely echo that, especially for so many of us who use lived experience to empower us and keep us going. And goodness, that definitely describes my journey of social action. I've been involved in a lot of national campaigns, but I first started in a lot of grassroots stuff. I started my work in school, and that was so much fun because I got to really use the experience that I had living in a little small town in Manchester, which looks like a very affluent place, but when you really get into the nitty gritty, it isn't. and being able to use our shared experiences to help empower us to make change in our local community. And since that, I've been able to use my voice to help shape and change stuff on a national level. During the pandemic, I worked with the NHS Youth Forum and the team at the government to help shape the way that they engage with young people taking up the COVID vaccine, and really getting that cultural context at a local level to empower us at a national level, and to make sure that we were all doing our part. And this is my pride and joy. It's the thing that I love to talk about. I remember I'm now in my gap year after A levels, but when I was in A levels, goodness, this is all I talked about. I'm doing this thing with iwill. I'm going to this place, because it fills me with a lot of hope, not just for myself, but for my peers. And coming from a community like mine, geographically and culturally, this isn't something that a lot of us get to do. We're so underrepresented and misrepresented that I know that what I'm doing, I'm not just doing for myself, I'm doing it for an entire community too. The reason why I joined iwill was because, goodness, I was just excited to be a part of a group of young people who are doing similar things. I saw it as a great opportunity to learn from others, to grow, to develop. I must say, I was 14 when I signed up to be an ambassador, which there are so many wonderful younger iwill ambassadors who are just so capable. So like you age is not a barrier, but for me, when I was 14, I was incredibly naive. So it's just so lovely to be able to reflect on the projects that I've been a part of, and really see the growth in my social action and myself as a human being too. For me, being a part of this movement really means amplifying everything that we do. My work, the work of others. It's been such a wonderful learning opportunity, because I get to share my experiences, take in others, and think, how do we make sure that this doesn't happen to anybody else? And it starts at conversations, and then we need funding, and then we really get to put it into action and make sure that these things aren't just words. It isn't just air or words on a paper. It's tangible actions that we're looking for. I'm so excited to see the future of iwill, especially as we're coming up to the 10-year anniversary, and really being able to reflect with older ambassadors and the newer ones. It's such a wonderful opportunity. So Gracie, thank you so much for just giving us the time and space to do this right now.
Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing all of that, Claire. Amazing to hear your story, as always. I think especially for all of the other ambassadors here and the newer ambassadors to be able to look and hear someone else's story and to just take inspiration from that. Always amazing. And if I could pass over to Jonas now to tell us a bit about his thoughts on all of this, the future of the movement. And yeah, Jonas, over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Gracie. And first things first, I want to say again, Gracie, you're the mastermind behind this. Thank you for asking me to be a part of this. I'm honored to be here. And yeah, my name is Jonas. I became an iwill ambassador in 2022. So yeah, September. I'm a rookie, guys. So essentially, the reason why I started all this stuff is similar to Claire, actually, in the sense that I started with grassroots stuff. However, it wasn't school based. I was in school and I didn't have the best experience in school. I got bullied quite a lot, and I was in lower sets in school. Wasn't really confident. I'd literally walk into rooms and like even I did this last time I did this. I was 15, which wasn't long ago. I literally would walk in rooms with a hoodie, cover up to my nose, and then put the hood down so no one could see my face. And I'd sit in a corner, and that's how bad my social anxiety was. And essentially, I got to a point where I said to myself, I don't want to be unhappy in my life anymore. I don't want to be unhappy in school. I don't want people's parents to say Jonas is a bad influence, don't hang out with him. And I generally don't want to be that seen as the angry black man. So I remember I walked into the city. My mum was watching, I don't know, Britain's Got Talent or something, I don't know. She was watching a show. And I just walked up to her and said, Mum, I'm gonna check when I finish these GCSEs, I'm gonna be a whole different man. And then I joined something in Lewisham. So I'm from Lewisham. If you didn't watch the video yesterday, you wouldn't know, but I'm from Lewisham and I say it all the time. But essentially, I joined quite a few youth groups there and I was doing bits and bobs in my area. This is when I was about 17. And essentially, I mainly started just to make, not even, it was mainly to prove people wrong. So I started in a place of really a lot of negativity because I was angry with how I was treated. But slowly but surely, obviously I'd approached the work with positivity, but in my head, I was thinking to myself, I got to prove these guys wrong. And it got to a point where I did a speech in America and I came back and I was crying. And I thought to myself when I was crying, I proved them wrong already. So if I end it now, what's the point? I'm still 17. I still got a long ways to go in life. So I said to myself, I actually like this sort of stuff. So I'm going to continue doing it. So yeah, that's how I started. And then it's just been a snowball effect on that from there. And I've been really grateful for the progress that I've made. And the reason that I joined iwill in particular was because I saw like people like Gracie, Claire before that, people like that, Uzi. And I look at it and I thought I was going to apply when Gracie got in actually in 2021. But I thought I'd be too busy. And then I saw like what people were doing and I had a bit of FOMO from it. And I was like, no, I've got to apply when it comes back this year. So I applied, was lucky enough to get on it. And mainly it was because I wanted to meet like-minded young people because a lot of young people I do meet with my work I do, they just care about money. And I'm not, so obviously I want to be financially free and all that kind of stuff. But the main thing for me is I don't do my work just to make money. I do it to make a social difference. If I wanted to just make money, I'd do Forex or I'd sell shoes. I don't want to do. That's what I told Claire the other day. I'd sell shoes. It's easy, but I actually want to see people make change with their lives. I want to change the world for the better, and I want to be remembered as a positive person. That's all about legacy for me. And I think everyone here is going to have a great legacy, and iwill is definitely a part of all of our legacies. And when it comes to what a movement means to me in the future of iwill, not to make an excuse, but I'm still new to iwill, but I'm still gonna like answer the question because I'm not gonna chicken out of it. But essentially, what a movement is to me is the ability to transition over time and pivot and adapt to. Because in life, if you're not able to adapt and move with the times, then you're gonna die out. I mean, I don't want to send any shots, but look at Blockbuster. They died out. We don't want to be like Blockbuster. We want to be like Netflix. So essentially, that's what it is to me. I think for the future of iwill, I mean, as Claire mentioned, some of our ambassadors, like 14, 13, Milan is 10. When I was 10, I was playing video games all day, and this guy's an iwill ambassador with us. So I think that the future is very bright for the movement. And again, if we're just going to keep on bringing amazing young people onto this, and we're going to continue to learn from each other as well, because we're all very passionate about what we do. And I learn from everyone here. Everyone I've met so far, I learn a lot from. So we're just going to keep that going, and it's going to get even bigger. And then we're going to make sure the UK is the beacon. You know, iwill's the best when it comes to this kind of stuff. And we work with obviously other organizations, but you know, we're the cream of the crop in the nicest way possible. We're gonna be the cream of the crop with this kind of stuff.
Cool, perfect. Thank you so much for that, Jonas. Especially love what you said about transition. I think that is so key. I think we've had a lot of conversations, you know, in the last year or so, like about what we're moving away from, what we're moving towards. And I think that's something that definitely needs to continue, and loved hearing your perspective on that. Lella, if you are here, I'm not sure, but yeah,
Hello.
if you're ready. Oh, you're here, perfect.
Can you see me? I don't know,
Yeah.
I've been running from event to event. So yeah, to answer your 3 questions then. Hello everyone, I'm Lella Violet. I'm based in Harrogate in North Yorkshire. My story, I call myself a digital change maker. Actually, I was kind of exposed by Piers Linney from formerly Dragon on Dragon's Den. He said, "Did you make that title up?" I was like, absolutely I did. And I'm going to totally own that. So to break that down, I believe that for far too long, decisions about my generation and many of our generations who are here today have been made without us. And I really believe that this can't continue, especially in my instance when it comes to the tech industry. So I work alongside other young people and industry leaders to ensure that we're at the fore of the digital transformation and not continuing to be cast aside as we are in many of the decisions being made at present day. I'm very driven by a desire to expand the digital skills, accessibility to technology, and awareness beyond what tends to be a maths-driven and data-heavy IT curriculum. I do this by informing, enabling, and inspiring decision makers to ensure that, and other lifelong learners, through holistic STEM. So when we say STEM, for those of you who don't know, science, tech, engineering, and maths. And I'm trying to show people in relatable ways how we all can be technologists and we all can be digital change makers. So talking of my why and why it is what I do, for me, I learned to code at the age of 8 years old. And this was something which I completely stumbled upon. Everyone always says that I just fell into it, but it's so true. I mean, I remember playing like a CBeebies numeracy game and accidentally pressing a button and it pulled up all the code behind the website. And being the somewhat annoying child that I wanted to know why. I was so curious. I'd never take no as an answer. So that led me on to learning to code, because this is my way of owning something which was this mysterious language at the time to me. And then I went back to the computer science classroom, the ICT lessons, and I'd see people be completely demotivated by what it was they were studying. They didn't understand how the phone they had at home was anything to do with what they were learning at school. And it was this disconnect that was totally just demotivating. Why was it only me, the fortunate few, who were able to innovate and grow and be a part of something bigger, and everyone else be left behind, despite us being total digital nomads and kind of having this ability to do whatever it was we wanted with tech outside of the classroom. So COVID provided this moment of redirection and reflection for me. I didn't want to just sit back and fall into an abyss of banana bread baking, as delicious as that was. Instead, I wanted to look at how I could create a dream classroom environment for not just me, but for others who had perhaps been failed by these maths-driven and data-heavy textbooks. I must say, I stopped studying computer science at GCSE because it wasn't even relevant for me. And that just shows how it failed us if the biggest techie over here wasn't even interested in doing it herself. So I called upon industry leaders to step into the teacher's shoes, to step into the classroom and listen to what it is we were wanting in order to move forward and gain the skills for the future of work and to be a part of this digital transformation. And this went on to create an online environment with over 5,000 students from 135 countries and growing. I now consult with the United Nations, governments from across the Middle East and Africa, numerous educators, both in primary, secondary and university, and also industry, to really show the power of intergenerational and intersectional solidarity. I am a proud digital change maker, meaning I am interested in humanities and making a difference and technology. And I think often there is this stigma of, needing to go down one route. You choose your GCSEs at how old are you, like 12, 13, 14. And it's like you're having to categorize yourself. Oh, I'm not into maths because I'm not very mathsy. Oh, I'm not into tech because I'm not technical. Why are we cutting ourselves off like that? So I always say, be an and not an or. And Beth kept saying it in her Petra Kucha on Monday, but it's this thing of you cannot be what you cannot see. And for me, I never saw a humanitarian in tech. And this is why I now want to kind of show people that you can use tech to fulfill any of those purposes and passions that you may have, more broadly speaking, and use it as a catalyst to achieve that, as opposed to allowing it to be all consuming. To answer your question of why I will, and I appreciate I'm the biggest chatterbox ever, it was really an opportunity for me to connect with other change makers from across the UK. I think for me, I very much at the time felt like it was just a one-man band kind of thing that I was working on virtually, and working with people from, as I said, these 135 countries. So that sense of community and togetherness often was a bit lost. So joining iwill allowed me to learn from so many other young change makers, to see what it was they were doing in their classrooms, in their schools, in their community groups, whatever it was. And that really grounded me in many ways. And it's allowed me to gain, as we mentioned, this diversity of thought and greater understanding of what it means to create change and to have social impact. We always say, you know, it's the power of uniting for change, pulling together for youth social action, and accelerating that through, this sense of community and peer-to-peer networking. And I hope that, you know, when we talk about the future of the movement, I hope that it's not just those who are in this kind of change maker bubble, which often can be, that are able to go and make change, but rather we have this greater visibility where we're seeing people doing so many different acts of social impact within their communities. And I hope that every single young person can see that we can all be change makers, or we can all be technologists, or we can all, you know, make a difference on what really matters to us. And I think that that's the power of a movement right there. And it's looking at how each and every one of us can have this ripple effect where we stand out and we speak up for our communities and our groups, and we look at how that can ripple out, and we can uplift the school students, or those in Uzi's case, like in cadets, or in like, you know, just thinking about who it is you can pull in. So together we can all be a part of this, because that continues to be a frustration of mine. I think, who is really listening? Who is really, you know, a part of moving forward in this way? And I think there is that great people power in that we all have passions and we all know what we're driven by. And I hope that we can create these enabling spaces where we're able to uplift others and help them find what it is they're interested in, even if they don't yet know what's possible. That's what I really think is important. So they're my initial thoughts. I hope that answers your questions, Gracie.
That is amazing, Lella. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. Especially love what you said about iwill being a community and that togetherness. I think Tom said something yesterday in the reflection after the premiere of the film, where he said, as young people, our greatest resource is each other. And I was like, that is so true. And I think to hear you echo that is brilliant as well. Uzi, if you're ready, if we can pass over to you, that would be great.
Thank you, Gracie. Hello, everyone. I'm Uzi. My government name is Usman Ahmed, and I'm 23 years old. I've been an iwill ambassador for 5 years, so I've been part of the campaign a little bit longer than some of the people on this call. And I joined the iwill movement when it was the iwill campaign originally, and it was being run by Step Up to Serve, and it's now being run by 2 amazing organizations and has become a movement. And my story kind of began back in high school, where I was, again, like Jonas, bullied all the way through high school for being different to everyone, and for having passions for that other people thought that weren't cool, and yeah, what's it called, not kind of not fitting in. Claire's spraying me off. Well, yeah, so yeah, I joined the school council and I quickly became the chairman, and I kind of started getting my passion of like project management and charity work, and looking at how I can organize different events within my high school, and kind of do loads of different things, like during half term and all of that sort of stuff. From that, I developed like my skills of project management, my skills of like leadership and like organizing stuff. And I kind of just took that on with me when I went to sixth form. When I started sixth form, I also started my cadet journey, and I've been part of like part of Bedfordshire Police Cadets for the past 7 years now. I joined as a cadet. I don't really know how I kind of fell into it, I think it was because a family friend had joined and he told me how amazing it was, and I was like, I want to do it too. So I joined cadets, and I really enjoyed it and became head cadet within my second year. Again, I think people just saw like a passion in me of like helping others, enjoying new social action, and I was given the opportunity to run my very own project, which was the hate crime project. And I was taken to a youth center by one of the other older cadets and was introduced to the CEO of the youth center, and they were like, okay, cool, I want to run this project, this is how we're going to run it, and this is how you're going to do it. Again, having no idea what I was going to do, no idea how it was going to be run, but I had the support of a youth worker, the other cadet, and myself, and a police officer. And we got funding for the project, and we were given money for it, and it kind of kicked off my youth work journey, because from that I was able to go into a youth center once a week, and I started learning what a youth center was, how it worked. Bearing in mind I'd never been in a youth center before, never engaged with a youth worker before, but I started learning what a youth center was, how it worked, how a charity works, and like kind of seeing the background stuff from the office part, but also seeing the frontline stuff from when staff members were like engaging with other young people. And it kind of just changed my whole like journey into what I do now. Because at sixth form I was studying the usual subjects: maths, law and accounting and media studies, with the aim of going to university to do law. And all of a sudden I found this passion for youth work. I started enjoying facilitating workshops, and I wanted to no longer go into law and to actually go and start another degree. And it kind of led me into a couple of gap years, and I now study youth work at Nottingham Trent, and I'm in my first year. So yeah, you have to, I think what's really important in that is giving myself the time to like make my journey and help change my journey as well, and not just be stuck on one path. Because I could like, when I think about it now, if I had continued on the path of like going and studying law, I would have just been sat behind the office desk right now, being a lawyer, doing lawyer stuff and writing documents, probably being really bored. But I actually enjoy it every single day, because every single day right now is different for me. I'm able to go out and about and volunteer as a police officer. I'm able to go and work with the cadets and run projects and help them come up with different ideas for charities that they want to support. And then I'm able to do a whole mixture of things. And yeah, I think it's really important to give yourself the time and not rush your journey, because everyone's journey is different. And if you need to take that time out, like out of education, take that time out of education, and just like really figure out what you want to do. Because I'm 23 and I've just started university, and I'm going to graduate when I'm 26 years old. But there's going to be my peers who have had like 6 years of working in the office. But it doesn't matter, because this is my journey and I'm going to own it. So why did I join the iwill movement? I don't actually know how I kind of fell into the movement. I just remember getting an invitation one day to saying you're coming to London Bridge and you're going to be coming to an event and you're becoming an ambassador. I don't know how that kind of happened. I think I got nominated by someone. I don't really remember. Like I don't remember doing the application form or anything like that. And I didn't really understand what iwill was at that time. I just got a letter saying you're going to be an ambassador, and I went with my dad, and we had an amazing day at the Tower of London, and yeah, I've been part of like the movement and the campaign ever since. And being part of the movement actually makes me feel really proud, because I've seen it obviously change from a campaign to a movement. And I've seen like loads of different ambassadors over the 5 years, and I worked with loads of different people. And I the stuff that I've seen and the stuff that I've seen other like my peers like achieve over the last 5 years has just been incredible, and it like really inspires me. Like every day I just see something that's inspiring. For example, the other day when I saw the video of in my hometown, it kind of reignited that belly, like that fire in my belly of like, okay, cool, what can we do in Luton? And like even today we were talking about how Luton's going to become a what's it called, a child-friendly town. So how Young Manchester is a like a social, like a what's it called, a youth like friendly town or whatever it is, or like a social friendly town. Luton's becoming a child friendly town, and we're looking at the 2040 like promises in that. And we're also looking at how we're going to become a disability friendly town as well. So that's the two parts that we're going to do. And we're having some really like exciting conversations with like the people like there today at an event that I was at earlier at the youth centre. And yeah, I'm just really excited to see what the future holds. And hopefully I can take my youth work degree and kind of like run with it, and become the best youth worker I can possibly be. And yeah, just thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk. I'm out. Peace out.
Thank you, Izzy. That was amazing. I think a lot of people were relating to what you were saying about you know, having your own journey and owning it. There was a lot of love for that, and I 100% agree. I think hopefully more young people come to realize that their story and the journey that's got them to where they are is their superpower, and that they can use those experiences, you know, to take them forwards and to create change. And yeah, finally, we're going to have Taegan share her thoughts. So Taegan, if you're ready, over to you.
Hey, thank you, everyone. It's lovely to be with you, and lovely to share my thoughts with you. I just need to share my screen, which is something that I am not great at. I probably need Lella to show me how to use technology at some point. Okay. If someone could just tell me if that's working, that would be amazing.
Yeah, we can.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. So just to kind of introduce myself first, I'm Taegan. I'm a disabled care experienced queer woman. I have quite a lot of lived experience, from being a young carer to experiencing homelessness and poverty. And this kind of all informs my work, my voluntary and social action work, and really made me very passionate about children and young people and just how complex childhood development is. And through that passion, I became involved in a lot of projects and voluntary, voluntary organizations that support young people and support a holistic approach to caring and advocating for our younger generation. These are some of the projects I'm involved in. As you can see, it's quite a broad range, from supporting young carers to looking at suicide prevention and education. But I guess, why did I join iwill is the big question. And I think a huge part of that was representation. I always say to people, I tick off like 8 or more diversity boxes. So if anyone's looking for a DEI advisor, I am here. I put my hand up. But within the iwill movement, I saw people that had the same passions as me and had the same backgrounds as mine. And that was something I didn't see in many other settings. And with that, I also felt a real admiration for those ambassadors, that they had turned their experiences into something so huge, and were making such a huge difference in the world. And I didn't see what I was doing as being a change maker. I just thought I was just doing what I was supposed to do. But I still felt this admiration for these ambassadors. And becoming an ambassador was very much outside my comfort zone. But after following along the ambassadors before me, their stories and all the amazing work you were all doing, I thought, you know what, I'm going to go for it. And I'm so glad I did, because the sense of community and connection that I have got from this has just been amazing. And I don't think I could have got that anywhere else. And really what iwill means to me is it's a group of people with such passion, and we have so much support for each other. We support each other to learn and grow. And there's such a sense of belonging within the movement, which, as I said, I haven't found anywhere else. And through being part of the iwill movement, I have networked with people and branched out into avenues that I wouldn't have found without the movement. And going forward, well, obviously I would love to see the movement grow. It has made such a profound impact on my life. And to see that happen with other young people, I mean, why wouldn't I want that? To see us stay connected, to spread the word, but most importantly, to care for ourselves and our communities as we do that, and to stay ambitious about what we're doing, to not put a limit on the work that we do individually and as a community, because we can do anything. We individually, but more importantly, as a community, we have overcome so many barriers, and we can continue to do that. And in the future, I hope to see the iwill movement continue to flourish, and for us to continue to explore the depths of social action, supporting young people to actually engage with social action and voluntary action in a variety of ways, whether that be sending a letter to your MP or standing in front of people from the United Nations. Whatever works for the young person is what, I mean, what else can you ask? And to make lasting connections with young people that are typically hard to reach, or as I saw it put at an event iwill hosted previously, easy to ignore. Because I was one of those people. I was a hard to reach young person, and now look where I am. I'm speaking in front of you, and I'm telling you that I feel so connected to everyone I'm speaking to right now. And actually to support young people to be in a position like that would be wonderful. And I hope to see opportunities like this to be continued to be presented for young people to share their thoughts, their stories, and their aspirations for the future. And I suppose that's kind of my thoughts on the 3 questions you asked us. And yeah, that's me.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that, Taegan. That was incredible. And to hear those themes of like connectedness just come up like over and over again, especially when so many other people have been like talking about that today, I think it just shows us that how we just have to have that as such a key central part of the movement going forward. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing. In a little while, we're going to have a chance for all of you guys who are listening to share your own reflections, and if you have questions for any of our like people that have spoken, like feel free, keep them in mind. But before we do that, I would really like to share some of my own thoughts, especially coming back to that theme of humanity that we touched on earlier. When I sort of wanted to do this event, I had so much I wanted to say. So yeah, I'm going to share a little bit with you guys, and then yeah, have a think about what sort of things you might want to share following that. Cool. So at iwill, our vision is for all children and young people to be supported and empowered to make a positive difference on the issues that affect their lives, their communities, and broader society. But if we really want to achieve this, then there's one absolutely key thing that I think is missing from the conversations we're having within the movement, within our own organisations, and I think even just a lot of the time at home and amongst our peers. And I think that is humanity. I think without it, our vision isn't a vision, it's a dream. And how can we expect to achieve these things like justice, equality, joy, community, if we don't have humanity? And I'm still on a journey to discover what humanity truly is, and I'm hoping you guys will join me on that journey. But I do believe that fighting for change without fighting for our humanity first is a battle that I don't think we can ever win. I definitely don't have all the answers, but today I just want to share an example of something that's helped me understand what humanity is, what it looks like when we don't have it, and also how we can keep humanity at the center of our movement. I want to just simply introduce it and start the conversation so we can take it further as we all continue to learn and grow. And to do that, I'm going to take you with me into a whole new world, which has been a really big part of my story. And that's the world of sail training. Welcome on board, as we always say. So I first entered the sail training world when I was 14. I stepped on board a boat with a charity called the Island Trust, just for a few days, and that was it. I was completely hooked. I never thought I'd ever be a sailor. I thought sailing was just for posh people who had friends with yachts. But then suddenly in this most unexpected place, I experienced something that showed me what I wanted the rest of my life to look like when I stepped off of that boat at the end of the week. I experienced how a group of complete strangers from all different backgrounds could become a completely solid unit, supporting each other through all their ups and downs and working as one to travel in a common direction. And it was everything that I actually wanted for the world that I live in. And I now work and volunteer for 2 of the 30 odd sail training charities in the UK. And something that is ingrained in us as staff and that we then drill into our young people is the necessity of making sure that no one ever goes over the side. There are sometimes really big waves that come crashing over our deck. We often sail at night in almost complete darkness. We face exhaustion, seasickness, but in all the years we've been sailing, we have never had anyone fall off the boat. And this is not down to luck. We have constant watch systems and we all share the responsibility for making sure that we know where every member of the crew is at all times and also how they're doing. And you're a lot more likely to fall in if you're feeling seasick. So if someone's feeling vulnerable, we always make sure that someone's by their side at all times. But if someone was to go in, we would be fully prepared. As soon as we see someone go in the water, we point and we shout, "Man overboard," at the top of our voices. And we do not stop shouting until everyone on the boat is fully aware of what's going on. And we don't stop pointing or take our eyes off of them until they are safely back on the boat. So we never lose sight of that person. Someone then gets ready to go over the side on a rope to retrieve that person, which is usually me. And the skipper turns the boat around to complete the rescue. And we practice this with Bob, which is a fender and bucket, at the beginning of every week. Because losing a member of our crew is completely unthinkable. And I feel like this might seem obvious, but think how many people fall overboard in our society every single day. As I go deeper into the connection between sail training and humanity, I want to take you through the different roles on a boat. And I want you to think about who you are. So firstly, you've got the crew, which I think within our movement would represent us as ambassadors and young people. We're the ones who have to build those strong, resilient networks of support to make sure no one goes in the water in the first place. But if they do, we have to keep shouting and pointing until those people are rescued. And then you've got the mate. To me, the mate represents the youth workers, like the iwill team, and like I'm sure many of you other people here today. They are the absolutely essential link between the young people and the skipper. And during a rescue drill, you will see them standing in the middle of the boat, passing messages from the skipper to the young people, and vice versa. And if the mate isn't listening, you could so easily miss the person in the water and the rescue could fail. So the mate is absolutely essential in this whole thing. And then finally, you've got the skipper, which I think represents our iwill partners and funders. And the skipper does have a slightly more detached role, but ultimately they have the power to make the boat move. And as loud as everyone else shouts, it's only the skipper who can turn the boat around to save someone who's gone overboard. However, just as you cannot ever sail without a skipper, a good skipper also realizes they can't sail without their crew. So it's having that relationship between the two. Okay, I'm going to tell you a quick story here. So one night this summer, my crew was sailing into Plymouth Harbour during the International Fireworks Championships. And coming in, it was already pretty dark. And I remember us all having this conversation about how particularly intentional we were going to have to be in having eyes on everyone at all times. When the fireworks began, me and the other mate stood at the back of the boat. We were making sure we could see the fireworks, but we were also making sure we could see everyone else at the same time. It was a great night, and as always, everyone stayed safe. And so the way that we do things in sail training has given me a glimpse into what humanity looks like. It's not just about us knowing what to do when someone falls in. It's about us all sharing the responsibility of working that 24 hours a day to make sure that no one ever does. And the reason that no one has ever fallen in is because of the systems we have created within our environment. It's never about how strong or extraordinary we are as individual crew members. It's that together we keep each other safe. And I think the same could be said for us as a movement if we could build those systems into place as well. But continuing the fireworks story, what happened next was in complete contrast. So the next morning we were telling the harbour staff about how great it had been. And they told us that whilst we'd been enjoying ourselves, 3 people had died that night after falling off of their boats. And we were like shocked, to say the least. How could that have been allowed to happen? The harbour was packed, was no one paying attention? And I think what we realised in that moment was that not everyone was living like us. We realised that safety and security don't come from having all the fanciest equipment, because what's the point if there's no one there to use it? And that people were so busy looking upwards, distracted by the fireworks, that they unknowingly let members of their own crew die in the water meters away from them. I think people drowning during the fireworks display is a tragic display of that lack of humanity. A member of a unified crew could not drown without another member realizing, but obviously an individual sailor could. And you don't let someone drown because you're a horrible or heartless person. It's if you're disconnected. So not only do these 2 examples show humanity in their own right, I feel like they also represent 2 different ways of living your life. People often ask me what made me a change maker, and I've lived a pretty unusual lifestyle. But I would say that the biggest thing that has shaped me as a person is that I've been raised to see myself as connected to everyone around me. I've grown up believing that my future is tied to the futures of other people, whether that's my neighbours, complete strangers on the other side of the world, or people, members of my generation. And when you're part of something far bigger than yourself, I think you feel a responsibility to be part of making it better. So I wouldn't say I'm a change maker out of kindness or goodness or charity. I think it's connectedness, which I believe is at the heart of humanity. So the concept I would really like to introduce briefly today is humanitarianism. And I know when I hear this, I just immediately think of people like disaster response teams who are on the ground working to like pull people out of rubble or rebuild houses after catastrophic events. But the actual official definition of humanitarianism is an active belief in the value of human life. And I think being a humanitarian is something that we could all commit to. We could start, clearing the rubble, rebuilding society in our own communities. And I just want to think, what would a movement of humanitarians look like? How could we become a response unit? What would be our response to what's happening around us? And I think it's a pretty exciting concept. And just to finish, I think the tragic reality is that there are already a lot of young people in the water, and some of them have been swept away already, but there are many who are still there fighting for breath. And so I guess my question is, as a movement, we have so much potential, and what systems can we put into place that, make that support for those young people, and what boat do we want to be on? And I'm aware I've just taken quite a lot of time there, but I had so much that I wanted to say. But to finish, I think we've got about 5 minutes left, and if anyone wanted to share their thoughts from our audience, we would love to hear what you think about the future of the movement. So if you use the raise hand function and one of us will come to you, that would be great. Iris, what would you like to say?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I just really wanted to say that this was great. Very proud sister moment, Gracie. So I really enjoyed, what you're all saying, and what you said, Lella, particularly resonated with me around the sort of inclusivity of bringing people into the movement. Something that I've sort of been more aware of recently is the fact that being a change maker is actually a privilege. Some people, they're too busy trying to just survive, that they can't actually be able to make a difference. So I think for those of us who do have that privilege, we need to be able to make an environment that includes other people who don't necessarily have that privilege. And I'm going to keep it short because I want other people to be able to say things.
Perfect. Thank you, Iris. Does anybody else have any reflections, even just a few sentences of anything that you would like to see for the future of iwill? Any visions, any dreams, any ideas? Cool. And if not, even if anyone had any questions for any of our amazing speakers. Oh, so I think Holly has her hand up.
I'm so sorry for the delay. I was just like, I couldn't find a button. Classic, Holly. First of all, just wanted to say, just been like hanging on every word that everyone has said in this last hour. As somebody who, you know, turns up every day to kind of do this work as a mate, which I love. You know, I think this afternoon, the whole week has reminded me of just why this work is important, and I just feel so lucky to know everybody in this space, and I just want to say thank you to you all for everything that you're doing, the way that you are sharing your thoughts and your insights, and it's only through this, I think, that we start to get those skippers to really start to kind of make those adjustments, you know, adjust the norms that they're used to. You know, they're all in this work for the right reasons, they're all doing incredible work, but it's still not enough. It's still not we're still not having the impact that we need to have. There's still people going overboard, and I don't really know what I'm trying to say other than thank you to you all for everything that you've done today, that you've been doing for all the years that you've been doing this work, and that you're continuing to do, from the tiny things to the big things. It all matters, it all makes a difference, it all is important, and it all has a positive impact on other people. Yeah, just had goosebumps for like an hour. So thank you. I don't know if that, I mean, I wasn't me answering questions, I was just having a little bit of a, you know, a share. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Holly. Yeah, I could not agree more. And I think Tony's saying as well, I think we're going to have to wrap it up in a minute, but Tony's saying if you have visions that you want to share, you can always share them on social media, which we would absolutely love. We are iwill_movement, I think, on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, I think, or the IWill movement on Facebook. But yeah, find us on there and definitely share your visions. I think, oh, James has his hand up. I think we'll have one more comment and then we'll have to wrap up.
Hi there. Yeah, absolutely inspirational. I'm a chief executive of a charity that sort of funds some of the, hopefully, the projects you'll do in the future. Just wondering briefly how you capture the ideas of the population, the youth population, to help you sort of plan your next steps.
Cool. Thank you for that question. Would any of you guys, speakers, like to jump in on that? Oh, I see Lella has her hand up.
Yeah, this is something I think we battle with a lot. And as Iris reflected on what I initially said, there is this fear that you do fall into a bit of an echo chamber of change makers, or in my case, technologists. And for me, and talking about the theme of today, having these genuinely enabling spaces and looking at where young people feel most comfortable to share their thoughts and views is so important. So, you know, when you look at like an interview process, right, or a focus group, immediately that seems far more professional than when you say, oh, a coffee chat, or just like a get together, an environment where a young person is far more comfortable. So I think it is really by listening to the youth voice and listening to change makers who are already kind of tapped into and have this firsthand experience of growing up in the present day, it's then looking at what they know those barriers and limitations can sometimes look like, and then being able to empathize and work down from there. So I'd really say in my instance, like the power of like a mural board, or I use Jamboard by Google, like where you can put like sticky notes and people can just drop their ideas. That way you're not falling into this, there's this thing, it's called like the hippo effect, and it's like the highest paid person, it's like they're always the one that hogs up the traditional decision, like discussion board or whatever it might be. So I'd say, yeah, there's a great importance in looking at how you can empathize and be able to uplift all of those voices. And it does tend to be by having like a young person signpost and be able to share with you how best to go about that and co-creating those enabling spaces with you. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you for that, Lella. Tony, do we have time to hear from a couple of other people, or do we have to cut it off there?
we may just have to cut off there just because our next session starts at 5 o'clock. But Claire, Jonas, please do share your comments with us, and we'll make sure that we will share what you have to say via our social media channels so that we don't lose those thoughts there. But this is just the beginning, right? Like, we, Holly and I, and the wider iwill team want to enable a lot of more of these spaces for us to continue having these conversations. So this is just the beginning of more to come. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming. Thank you, all of our brilliant speakers. It's been amazing to hear from you. And yeah, please follow us on social media, everybody, and share your thoughts, and we'll be sending a feedback form at some point as well. So let us know what you think. Really will help us moving forward. Yeah, big thank you, and hopefully continue the conversation in the future.